afternoon. In the last few minutes, it's been revealed that Boris Johnson's senior advisor, Dominic Cummings, will make a public statement and take questions later this afternoon. It comes amid growing calls for his resignation over claims he broke the government's own lockdown guidelines. The Prime Minister is holding a cabinet meeting in Downing Street right now. It's scheduled to be looking at further ways of easing the coronavirus lockdown restrictions. But Boris Johnson is facing a revolt from MPs within his own party, as well as criticism from across the political spectrum, following his decision to back his most senior and most trusted aide. Our political correspondent Jessica Parker reports.
Good morning, Mr.
The questions keep coming.
Did you go to Barnard Castle, Mr. Cummings?
And can't easily be waved away. Boris Johnson strongly backed his chief aide last night, saying Dominic Cummings had acted legally with integrity. The Prime Minister appearing to consider the matter closed.
Very serious allegations have been levelled at Dominic Cummings and his family in terms of them breaking the rules and therefore breaking the law. Dominic Cummings has set out absolutely clearly and absolutely categorically that, he didn't break the rules and he didn't break the law. This is, the Prime Minister's right to be asking those questions, right to be asking for those assurances.
Amid lockdown, Mr Cummings travelled in late March from London to County Durham with his wife, who had COVID symptoms, and their young son, to self-isolate on the family farm in case they needed help with childcare. Then was there later a day out, 30 miles down the road at Barnard Castle. Durham's acting police and crime commissioner has requested that the facts be investigated. Coming out last night to back his advisor.
I think he followed the instincts of every father and every parent, and I do not mark him down for that.
But a number of Conservative MPs now want an investigation. Others for Dominic Cummings to go.
My inbox is absolutely bloated with white anger, with real fury from constituents from across the political spectrum, from across the different professions and jobs in North Dorset. Absolutely furious.
Waiting for developments, it's now understood Mr Cummings will make a public statement later, take questions. But opposition parties have been calling on the Prime Minister to sack him.
Boris Johnson is putting his political interest ahead of the public interest, and when trust in a public health message and public health advice is as important as it is right now, the consequences of that could be very serious.
Michael Carter from Surrey, staying home for health reasons, didn't get to see his mother before she died and says he feels insulted.
It looks as if it's the old boys club looking after each other now. That's what it feels like. And to make rules for the British public to follow and then to break them or to deceive people, which is more so what he's done, is unacceptable.
At a virtual meeting today, the Cabinet's looking at the next steps out of lockdown. As decisions are made behind this door, public trust, a crucial commodity. Jessica Parker, BBC News.
So in a highly unusual step, the Prime Minister's senior advisor Dominic Cummings is going to make a public statement this afternoon. Our chief political correspondent Vicky Young is in Downing Street for us now. And what are we expecting him to say?
Well, we don't know how he's going to do this. We know it's a public statement and he will also take questions. I think this is a real acknowledgement that things have not been handled well, that what the Prime Minister did yesterday, coming out and defending his advisor, actually might have made things worse. A lot of Conservative MPs concerned that people are questioning the judgment of the Prime Minister by clinging on to his advisor. Now, I think the anger from Conservative MPs, some of them going public, because they in turn are hearing the anger from their constituents that even if Dominic Cummings didn't break the law, he undermined the government's message. He didn't behave in the same way as millions of other people have done. So this feels like a last and potentially very risky and dramatic way of trying to save Dominic Cummings' job.
Vicky, thank you very much. Well, Durham's acting police crime and victims commissioner has written to the force's chief constable calling on officers to establish whether Mr Cummings did breach the law. Our Home Affairs correspondent Daniel Sanford is here with me now. So what happens next?
Well, Steve White has asked the chief constable, Joe Farrell, to establish the facts so that, as he puts it, the people of Durham can be satisfied that the police force are continuing to do their job independent of government. Clearly, what the force does in terms of the resources put into it is a key question now, because it would be disproportionate to put huge amounts of resources into it, like into a murder inquiry. But are there simple things that can be done, like checking ANPR cameras for the movement of the car, talking to those witnesses who've seen Dominic Cummings, speaking to Dominic Cummings himself, that could be done to establish quickly the set of facts for what is in the end a breach of health regulations. It's not a major crime, but of course it is something that is of great concern at the moment to people right across the country, including some Tory MPs. So that's why Steve White is quite keen that the facts, as much as the force can establish them, get established.
Daniel, thank you very much.